Here's part 2 of my video. Next up is George A. Romero's Empire of the Dead. This would have been a very interesting movie involving New York City zombies and vampires, so it's very cool that we get to see it play out in the comic book world. I don't think they have the budget to make the movie as good as the story in the comic book, but it's good to see what the idea was. Very creative stuff. Good on Marvel for publishing it. Next up is Captain America. I love Captain America. Now, there's probably a misconception out there that Captain America is this gung-ho American, everything in America is great, but he actually, speaks out against the injustices in America as he did during the Civil War. And because he came from the past, he has a different mindset than the current generation. He's been through a lot lately in the current series, so very cool stuff. Captain America's awesome. More original sin here. Everyone's wondering who shot the Watcher. Very cool to have him in a story and seeing where he lives, what things he has in his armory, his collection, and what he watches. So very cool stuff. Another original sin. Again with the original sin. More original sin action. Here we have the Iron Fist series. I really love what happened in the past with his partnership with the Power Man Luke Cage. It was very cool back in the day. I love stories about martial artists, like I used to love The Master of Kung Fu, so it's very cool to see new stories about martial artists, powerful heroes. Very good stuff. Here's a Star Trek issue and series based upon the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, so it's very cool to see what goes on with stories that happened in the past, but a different slant, the new characters, and the changes to the Star Trek universe. I love it, and at least it gives you some Star Trek stories while you're waiting for the new movies to come. So very cool stuff. As you can see here, we have the Angry Birds cover. This is the Star Wars series based upon the original screenplay by George Lucas. It would have been a very awful movie and no one would have cared about that movie in the same way they do with the Star Wars that we know and love. But very cool comic book. Nice to see where the original idea was and ultimately what it evolved to in the movies. Cool stuff. Very cool to get. I loved it. Battlestar Galactica. This is a series about the original Battlestar Galactica series crew and not the modern one. And in the comic books, it's served up without the cheese. So very cool stuff. Here's the Magneto series. I love Magneto. He's my favorite Jewish superhero. Like, to put up with the things that he did in the Holocaust and surviving that and doing what he does for the mutant cause, it really sets him apart. Like, he's not a villain. What he thinks he's doing is right, and you can kind of respect him for that. Very cool stuff. Here we have Star Wars Rebel Heist, a very interesting story. Once again, Dark Horse is setting the bar for when things turn over to being again published by Marvel. So good quality stuff coming out of there. Very interesting story. I think this is a variant cover of the same issue. Obviously, Princess Leia is very cool. Carrie Fisher in real life and inspiration for overcoming substance abuse and mental health issues and going on to be a very great writer and revisionist for screenplays, making them better than what they were. So I highly respect Carrie Fisher. Awesome to see Star Wars comics. Here we have Thanos, very cool character. You're obviously going to see him in the movies. He loves death and he is a significant threat when he does what he does, especially when he gets the Infinity Gems and a lot of powers. He basically has everybody in the Marvel Universe have to stand up against him when he goes on his various nihilistic rampages. Very cool stuff. Here we have an interesting concept with City, the Mind and the Machine, which involves a story of cyber implants and the surveillance of City and the software control of individuals. Very creative. It was nice to see where the story went and how governments, corporations, and private citizens relate. Okay. Next we have Dexter. The television series is over, but he lives again in comic books and keeps doing Dexter things. Very cool stuff. Here we have Nightbreed. I love the movie back in the 90s. It's very cool that comic books give the opportunity to keep the stories going and have different ideas presented. Once again, we have Star Trek. I always love seeing a photo cover. Very cool stuff in comics. Star Wars Legacy. These are the stories 139 years after Return of the Jedi, when the universe is a much different place. So very cool to see Anya Solo going at it. She's certainly more of a solo character rather than a Skywalker style Jedi. She's gotten into some very interesting adventures and it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Giant size Spider-Man. Nice to see that Marvel is putting out the giant size format concept. Very cool to see Spider-Man doing interesting stuff. Once again, Star Trek and the modern J.J. Abrams crew series, doing very interesting adventures. Here's the X-Files. I'm glad Mulder and Scully are back in comic book form. Thank God for comic books being able to bring about the seasons that keep the story going and that don't happen in television. So, very cool. Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a superhero team I didn't really collect when I was younger, but I'm cautiously optimistic about the movie. It's very different, so I'll give it a chance. Once again, Star Wars Legacy. Here is X-Force. This is Cable's like elite mutant team that deals with very serious issues, so very cool stuff. Here we have Wolverine, and apparently they're going to kill him off, and lots of things are happening, so I picked this one up to see what's going on with Wolverine. Here is Uncanny Avengers. It's very interesting to see the Avengers take a kind of DC comic books Justice League concept of making the superhero team much larger and global.